lift control. Get from farm to field easier with a narrow transport width of 13 feet. The Case IH 2150S. Visit Bain-Welker.com. Bain Welker, employee-owned, customer-focused. As the ag industry forerunner, Ag Leader can connect your entire farm. Then sync it, steer it, plant it, and track it. Even share it, compare it, and yield it. From cab to cab, season to season, there's only one way to do it all: Ag Leader it. Bain Welker Equipment is your preferred supplier of Ag Leader technology products for a full farm.
Or the sponsors. The Liquor Vault on-air line is now open for your calls or texts at 219-362-0522. This is Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Hello, friends. Welcome to today's episode of Sound Off. Today is Friday, April 15th, in the year of our Lord 2022. And it's also Good Friday for those of us who observe the Christian practice of Good Friday. A blessing to you. So, we have Jim Pressel, state representative, in the show today. Jim Pressel is running for re-election in the Indiana State Representative District 20, which, if you're in, Rolling Prairie all the way down to Stark County, he probably is your representative. You probably know that, but if not, you do now. He has got a Republican challenger, Heather Oak, and we're talking a little bit about his campaign and some of the things that he achieved in the legislature and some of the things that he plans on doing in the future. State Representative Pressel, welcome.
Thanks, Nick.
How are you? How's the campaign going?
It's busy. It's busy. So one thing about being a state representative, unlike any other office, we run every 2 years. So it's a continual campaign. There is no off cycle. So it's you finish one session, you come back and you campaign for the next election. So every year is a campaign year.
Now, if any of our listeners have a question, you're welcome to email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com, or you're welcome to call me. So you can't text. I was going to say text. No text line right now, but you can call me at the Liquor Vault on-air line at 219-362-0522. Again, that number is 219-362-0522. If you have a question for State Representative Jim Pressel. We do have, I always put it out a day in advance now. If anybody has any comments or questions, we do have a couple that I received on Facebook and social media. Here's one. I would love to know, sorry, nope, wrong one. Yeah, I would love to know his rationale for voting yes on various education bills that were points of major contention. I think voters on both sides could benefit from his explanation on that. Does he feel our local teachers are not adequately doing their job?
No, absolutely not. I don't believe that the teachers aren't doing their job. I think they are. And it takes a special person to be a teacher, and I admire what they do. I support teachers. So you're probably referring to, it was like House Bill 1123. Very, 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 very controversial. So that one was driven primarily to give parents a greater look into a greater look and a greater voice into what's being taught to their kids, what books are being used. And I can honestly say that everything that bill worked on, I am not seeing that in this district, 7 district schools. I'm not hearing that, but it does exist. It's taken place in Indianapolis. It's taken place in Fort Wayne. It's taken place in Lafayette.
And so, what is this? Are you talking like CRT or whatever they call it?
Yeah, and CRT is just absolutely so hard to define. You can't define it. CRT, critical race theory, is going to be different for you and your definition of it compared to what it is to me, compared to what it is to anyone else, right? A lot of it was driven over pornographic materials and what is pornographic materials, because that's going to be different for everybody. Now, some of the stuff that I seen that came up through committee and was documented that is actually being in our classrooms, not in this district. And I want to be really, really clear about that. I am not hearing about it here, but I'm seeing where it is going on. And I was a truck driver for 10 years, been in the construction business for 30 years. So there's not a lot that's going to make me blush. The stuff that I've seen would definitely make me blush, and there's no way I would want my grandkids to be seeing that.
So would you say then that the State Department of Education was kind of skirting their duties to monitor these kind of things?
Well, they claim that they didn't know anything about this, and that local school boards should have that control to vet this. And that's true, but DOE, in my mind, fell down on their job, right? So why are they not vetting this? Parents are bringing it to school boards in different areas, and there was inaction.
So, I think you bring up a really wise point that a lot of this, even, pornography or whatever, a lot of it is defined differently, correct? And what we allow our kids might be different than what my friends allow their kids or something to see and do. So how does a legislator get to define culturally, racially, these kind of things, what is and is not appropriate for children to see? Right,
and I think that's the unique thing about that bill. So if you actually read the bill as it was amended out
People
of committee,
don't read bills.
They don't. They buy into what I heard on Facebook or what I seen on Twitter or wherever it came from, or so-and-so told me this. But if you actually read the legislation as it was amended when it left the House, most of what people's concerns was not even in that bill. Did not exist. It was amended out of it. It started out pretty radical. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, it did that for sure. So at the end of it, when it left the House, there was no definition in there for that pornographic part of it, but it recreated what already exists, and whatever school boards have the ability to create this committee of parents and administrators and teachers to take care of these problems. So if I came in and said, hey, Johnny's reading this book in this class, I think it's pornographic material and I don't want it. Mm-hmm. So they have that opportunity to vet that.
All right, we've got State Representative Jim Pressel on the show. If you've got a question, 219-362-0522. I'd love to hear from you. Or email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com. If you're streaming with us online, you're welcome to put those comments in the YouTube or Facebook comment lines. Let's get to our first caller. Hey, thanks so much for calling. What's your question for State Representative Jim Pressel?
Good afternoon, Mr. Pressel. Thank you for coming on the air. This is Steve Hollifield.
Hey, Steve.
I just want to say, first off, that thank you. You answer every question, every phone call, every email, every text. Unlike representatives we had in the past, you step forward and you take this job very, very seriously. And that bill you were just speaking of, I had the honor and privilege when I was down there this winter watching the House Education Committee talk about that. People that don't go there have no idea what is involved at your job besides just coming up here and speaking. My question, Mr. Merzinski wanting to throw Mr. Stavos out again, because he was probably told to by the attorney. The state will have to step in for that, will they not? I mean, the county commissioners just can't just throw an elected official out. Will the state step in, and what statute or ICC code would that be under? Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. And I appreciate the comments early on about what you see my role is, and I do work very hard at trying to respond to everybody in a timely fashion. Sometimes things do fall through the cracks, so you gotta hit me up again. But I do work very hard at that, and it's a lot of time, I'll tell you. So the IC code, I don't know what that is. Folks would like to believe that I know where all the IC codes are, but if you stack that IC code up, it's about 4.5 feet tall. But what I can tell you is that an elected official, you can't get rid of them, right? So I don't know how you could do that. There's no recall in Indiana. I mean, that's up to the voters the next go around.
Representative Pressel, I did look this up. I looked it up because I read the article as well, and I had the same question Steve did. It's Indiana Code Title 5, State and Local Administration, 58135. And you guys amended this law in 2021, and essentially it's a little general. I think you might have to define it a little bit more, especially in locally, but essentially it gives a supermajority of council or commissioners the right to take a full-time elected official out of their role if they find them refusing or neglecting to perform the official duties pertaining to the officer's office.
Yeah.
That's pretty broad, right?
Yeah, that was, and I remember that one. That was Representative Aylesworth that brought that forward for a Lake County issue. They had a trustee over there.
That's exactly right. Yep.
That could not or would not do their job. They just didn't show up.
Yeah.
Right. So they're collecting a taxpayer paycheck and refuse to actually show up. Now, I think what you've got going on here locally is a lot different than that. So there would be an argument that, he's showing up and he's doing his job. And I think that's the spirit of that law. I don't think that's going to stand up for a replacement. That's up to the voters.
And the auditor did say in a story on hometownnewsnow.com is sometimes when he's not in his office, he is working from home. And so he works from home as well, not just in the office. And so, again, I think the burden of proof would be on the commission, a supermajority of the commission and council to prove that. All right, next question. Here we got a question for you, or a comment anyway. Mr. Pressel, I don't really have a question, but I would like to thank you for coming on Sound Off and bravely answering questions from your constituents. I can only hope your opponent does the same instead of hiding behind the half-truths she has printed in the mailers that have been sent all over town. It is political season. Now I'm starting to get less mailers about vote for me because, and now mailers I'm getting don't vote for that guy.
That is absolutely so interesting. I appreciate the comment. Thank you for that comment. I am going to stay very focused on positive. I don't want to get involved with the negative mudslinging. So I just seen the recent mailer. I've seen the letters. It's interesting. Friends, relatives, just constituents that I've never even met before will send that stuff to me and go, "Hey, what can you tell me about this?" And I believe my opponent's whole platform is, this is what Jim Pressel did wrong, but there's no truth in it. So I can back up every one of those Jim Pressel did wrong with, no, that's actually state law today because I voted for that.
Yeah. All right, we've got State Representative Jim Pressel on the show. The Liquor Vault on-air line is 219-362-0522. You can also email me at soundoff@967theeagle.com. We're going to take our first break. We'll be right back here in a few minutes on 96.7 The Eagle.
Ben Conowitz here, owner of LaPorte Seamless Gutter. My parents started LaPorte Seamless Gutter in 1982 with one goal in mind, really. Our customers' 100% satisfaction. And we are still providing the same customer service that Tim and Seal Conowitz started all those years ago. Give us a call today for a free estimate at 219-362-9972, or you can visit us on the web, www.lpseamless.com. 219-362-9972.
Hi, I'm Al Ott, Democratic candidate for LaPorte County Sheriff. Family is the most important part of our lives, my family and yours. When seeking an elected office, family commitment is so vital to the candidate. That's why I'm so very proud and fortunate to have the complete support of my wife, Jamie, of 25 years, and our two daughters, Riley and Ryan. They have encouraged me to seek the office of sheriff. It's been a welcome family decision and commitment. I respectfully ask for your vote and support on May 3rd. I'm Al Ott, and I approve this message.
Good news. Surf Fiber Internet is growing in LaPorte. Get 1 gig speed with a free whole home Wi-Fi router for only $65 a month. There's no hidden fees, no contracts, and free installation. They are building out more neighborhoods every day. So visit surffiber.com to check your address for service or call 844-955-SURF for more details. That's 844-955-SURF. This is a limited time offer. Speeds may vary and some restrictions apply.
Hi friends, Chief Deputy Ron Heeg here, and your Republican candidate for sheriff. I'm a 25-year veteran of the sheriff's office, starting my career within the jail. I worked my way up through the ranks to my current role of Chief Deputy. I'm active within our community, serving on the Board of Directors for Grand Heritage Federal Credit Union, Stepping Stone Shelter for Women, LaPorte County Triad, and for Indiana Homeland Security District 1 Task Force. I'm married to my wife Heather, and we live in Kankakee Township with our two daughters, Olivia and Allison. I humbly ask for your vote on or before May 3rd, paid for by the committee to elect Ron Heeg sheriff.
Nothing says spring better than a visit to Small's Garden Center in Stoneyard. Small's has the area's largest selection of plants, trees, shrubs, evergreens, perennials, and it's all 30% off now at Small's. And choose from over 60 varieties of fruit trees, raspberry and blueberry bushes, 30% off. Want someone else to do the work for you? No problem. Simply ask Small's to deliver and plant your purchase. It's all at Small's Garden Center in Stoneyard.
When it's time to make improvements on your outdoor space, think Small's Garden Center in Stoneyard. At Small's, you'll find a huge selection of decorative stones, wash stone, limestone, slag, flagstone, pavers, and boulders. Plus, Small's will load or deliver it for you. And right now at Smalls, all topsoil and mulch is on sale. Call or stop by for prices. Shop Smalls' new selection of outdoor products for outdoor living, patio and garden area, and save on outdoor decor items. Now 30% off at Smalls. Smalls Garden Center in Stoneyard, US 20 in LaPorte, open Monday through Saturday, 8 until 5, and Sunday, 10 until 4.
Oh, good heavens, it's Dingus Day!
This year's Dingus Day will be celebrated on Monday, April 18th. Make plans to stop out and enjoy some great food, plenty of entertainment, and endless drink specials. Each stop will have its own Polish sampler plate and Miller Lite 16-ounce drafts for $3. This year's lineup includes
Stop 1, Casey's Lanes for Golubki, mashed potatoes or green beans and a roll, and DJ Jeffro. Stop 2, Dick's Bar for kielbasa and kraut or Kaluski noodles over mashed potatoes. Stop 3, The Burger Bar and Grill for cabbage rolls. Stop 4, PRCU for PT and the Cruisers. Stop 5, JJ Sideout Bar and Grill will have a DJ. Stop 6, P&A has Naughty Light and karaoke at 5 p.m. Stop 7, Hilltop Bar for sausage and kraut, boiled eggs, rye bread, and kolache cookies. Stop 8, Mickey's has 2 DJs. Stop 9, Shooters has a DJ. And Stop 10, Ringers has cabbage rolls and pierogies.
You won't want to miss this year's Dingus Day, Monday, April 18th. Must be 21 to participate, and please celebrate responsibly.
We're waiting to hear from you. Dial or text 362-0522 and let us know what you think. That's 362-0522. Back to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
Welcome back, friends. We are here in the studio with State Representative Jim Pressel, who's seeking re-election in the District 20 race for Indiana State Legislator for the representative spot there. We're talking about your campaign, a little bit of stuff that's happened in the last year or two with the legislator. It's been a really busy year. We've obviously here locally had a lot of conversations about the local income taxes and the increase in taxes for citizens. Eric Holcomb signed a $1.1 billion tax bill package, which would reduce Indiana's income tax rate from 3.23 to 2.9 for corporate taxes. And he even said he'd like to see that number cut down to 0 and be the state with the lowest corporate taxes out of any state, including, I think, South Dakota is right now. Here locally, though, the county is raising taxes on citizens, supported much by Republicans. Why are Republicans cutting taxes on corporations that are making more than ever and raising taxes on hardworking Americans?
So I would direct you a little bit away from the corporate tax, maybe just a little bit. And I'm not stepping sideways, but I just voted for the largest tax cut for Hoosiers in Indiana. So we're reducing the income tax. So
it's not just corporate.
It's just not just corporate, and those numbers sound exactly like what we're doing for individuals. So we're going from, I think it's 3.5 to 2.9 over 5 years. And it is a $1.5 billion reduction on your income taxes. That's real dollars, right? So anytime government has excess dollars, government will figure out a way to spend that. You know, and it may not be what you want it spent on, and it could be overspending on something. So I think the taxpayers deserve to decide how to spend that money, and anytime we can send it back to them is a great thing. So to the lit tax, that's a tool that before my time in the General Assembly, back when they did the property tax cuts, the General Assembly provided locals the option to do a local option income tax for just those services, for first responders, for the firefighters, EMS, police, for wages, and for equipment, but it was specific to that. And I think Indiana or LaPorte is like the 7th lowest right now in that version. So, but that's the tool that we have local control with, right? So the General Assembly didn't set that rate because if you don't need those dollars, then you shouldn't take those dollars from the taxpayer.
All right, we've got a caller here. Thanks so much for calling the show. Thanks for listening. What's your question for State Representative Jim Pressel?
My question is, for people who fall through the cracks for Social Security disability, that have to work to pay their bills and to make their ends meet, and because they're so, arthritic and there's times that they would have feel like blowing their brains out. But, what do them people do to get disability? That's my question. Thank you.
So disability on Social Security is going to be handled at the federal level. So there's different ways to apply, but if you've got something to write on, I'd be glad to connect you with Senator Braun's office or Senator Young's office. And we work on a lot of constituent cases like this, and happy to make that connection and pass you on to the people that can actually make that happen for you. So you can reach out to me at Jim Pressel, JIMPRESSEL 20, the number 20 at gmail.com.
All right.
I'd be glad to connect you.
All right. Thanks so much for calling. Here's a question we received. Statistically, Indiana teachers are paid the worst out of nearly all states in America. The state has not kept up with raises, and there's a huge issue with the loss of educators because of dissatisfaction. What is the state legislature going to do to get more pay for teachers that actually competes with other states and areas in the private market? And how do you plan on championing education policy in the future?
On 3 different budgets I've had the opportunity to vote on, and every time it has included a K through 12 increase in by billions. So the first one was a $1.2 billion increase. Second time, I believe we were at $3 billion. So it's 30% of our entire state budget goes into K through 12. So what we did would been 2 years ago, we actually took dollars in paid cash and paid down on the pre-96 pension fund to free up the local school boards to be able to pay teachers more. And that was our hope. We actually put that in that legislation to raise it so that a teacher would start at $40,000 a year and go up. That worked pretty well. I think we had like 85 or 87% of all the school corporations actually were on their way to do that with the additional dollars that they didn't have to pay into the pension fund and with the additional funding that we gave them. And then the last one we did was, I want to say it was $2.5 billion that increased in all 7 of the districts that I have now at a minimum of a starting pay at $40,000 a year. So we continue to put more dollars in there and pay cash for responsibilities so that we can pay teachers more.
All right. We've got a question coming in our phone line. Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show. What's your question for State Representative Jim Pressel?
Yes. First of all, I'd like to agree with Mr. Holofield that nobody gets back to emails, texts, or whatever it might be faster than Mr. Pressel and consistently. And secondly, I would like to throw in an argument here when we're talking about the governor lowering the corporate taxes. Corporate taxes always get paid by the end consumer anyway. So in reality, all taxes are paid by the person who can't pass them on to the next guy. So Ford Motor Company has to pay more taxes. Cost you more for the car in the first place, then you pay more sales tax on top of that increase. So, Mr. Pressel, I think you would weigh in on that from your practice on the legislative agreements as far as money. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, every business, whether it's Ford Motor Company, my business, or the business here at the radio station, whatever your expenses are, and that could be taxes. It should be taxes. I mean, that's a cost of doing business. That gets passed on to the consumer. So if there was a reduction in that, if my cost for 2x4s go down, or if your cost for technology goes down, you're probably going to reflect that in your price because it's not only going down for you or for me, but my competitor also. So if I want to remain competitive, there's going to be that reduction.
Now, I'm naive about this, but wouldn't they just make more money?
It depends on your competition, right? There's that free market. So if I'm competing against you for airtime and I have a reduction in tax or a reduction in technology and I want to take more of your market share, what am I going to do?
Yep. All right, we've got State Representative Jim Pressel answering your questions today on Sound Off. We're going to take our final break of the day and get back to some more questions, some more conversation. Keep listening to 96.7 The Eagle.
Hi, this is Andy Heineck, Democratic candidate for Sheriff of LaPorte County. As a military veteran and a 22-year member of the Sheriff's Office who has worked in every division, I believe I have the experience to be your next sheriff. My goals once elected are to reduce recidivism amongst our inmates, expand our mental health services, and to focus on the heroin epidemic. I've dedicated my life to serving our community, and I'm asking for your support. Please vote Andy Heineck for Sheriff. Paid for by the committee to elect Andy Heineck Sheriff.
Car problems often strike at the absolute worst times, but you can rest well knowing that Cannon's Automotive Service is here for you and dedicated to get you back on the road with prompt, efficient, same-day service. The same Cannon's commitment that LaPorte has trusted for over 50 years. Cannon's Automotive Service, now with 2 locations, 710 Tyler Street and 909 Boyd Boulevard.
With Cannon's Automotive, we fix everything.
Vote Fagan 2022. Who is Sean Fagan? He's a lawyer. He's a Republican. Sean Fagan, running for LaPorte County Prosecutor 2022. Sean Fagan knows that LaPorte County is a great place to live, and he wants to keep it that way. Sean Fagan for LaPorte County Prosecutor 2022. Be safe. Be strong. Let's work together. Vote Sean Fagan 2022. This message paid for by Fagan for Prosecutor.
Hi, I'm Al Ott, Democratic candidate for LaPorte County Sheriff. During this election season, you will hear many candidates make many promises as to what they will or will not do if elected. I make one promise and one promise only. That is to do the best I can to provide exceptional leadership and law enforcement services you expect and deserve. I respectfully ask for your vote and support on May 3rd. I'm Al Ott, and I approve this message.
Paul's Auto Yard in Westfield is paying top dollar for junk cars and scrap metal, including copper, brass, and aluminum. Drive it in or have them haul it away for you. Put some fast cash in your pocket and get rid of that junk car, running or not. Need a part for your car or truck? You can pick and pull from any of Paul's Auto Yard locations. Paul's Auto Yard has been in the business for over 45 years and will beat anyone's price. Hey, don't take my word for it. Give them a call today, 219-785-2613. That's 219-785-2613.
While too many politicians are all talk, Jim Pressel is taking action. As Joe Biden's disastrous policies are sending inflation through the roof and causing higher gas prices, conservative leader Jim Pressel is taking a stand and delivering real relief for Hoosier taxpayers, voting for the largest income tax cut in Indiana history, putting real money back in the family budget. Jim Pressel is also an outspoken defender of the unborn and is the only candidate in the race endorsed by Indiana Right to Life. Pressel also believes our liberty is worth defending and has stood against government mandates and for our individual liberties, including our Second Amendment. That's why Jim Pressel is endorsed by the National Rifle Association. Jim Pressel is the conservative leader who is fighting to defend life and liberty. Vote conservative Republican Jim Pressel for state representative.
Paid for by Friends of Jim Pressel.
Hey, who's hungry? Because I've got a deal for you. Dennis Adele here to introduce you something new to the Morning Mayhem. Every weekday at 6:55, it's Denny's Diner. Yep, Joe and I will cook up some trivia questions, and if you have the correct answer, you'll be the winner of a $20 gift card from either JJ's Sideout Bar and Grill, the Burger Barn Grill, JJ's Pizza Shack, Wanna Pizza, or Nowhere Barn Grill. So join us weekdays for Denny's Diner at 6:55 on the Morning Mayhem for your chance to win here on 96.7 The Eagle.
Your forecast on 96.7 The Eagle brought to you by Harmon Expert Auto Service. If you're looking for a local and quality auto repair company, then look no further than Harmon Expert Auto with 2 locations in LaPorte, 308 Washington or 111 Brighton Streets. Visit their website at harmonexpertautoservice.com or call 325-0444.
Michiana weather.
Cloudy this afternoon with a chance for scattered showers. Highs level off around 53. Winds out the west 10 to 15 miles per hour. 33 tonight, chance for scattered showers. From the Weather Center at hometownnewsnow.com. Right now, 53.
Your opinion matters. We invite you to share it by calling or texting the Liquor Ball on-air line at 362-0522. That's 362-0522. Now, back to Sound Off on 96.7 The Eagle.
We've got State Representative Jim Pressel on the show. The Liquor Ball on-air line is 219-362-0522. We've got about 8 minutes left on the show. Here's a question that came in. Sorry, sometimes I have to translate the question. Recently, a potential subdivision in Rolling Prairie was denied because farmers said it's not good for people to live by fields as there are potentially harmful chemicals and runoff that could hurt them. You have a subdivision on that road as well. Do you think it's harmful for subdivisions to be built near farmland? And do you think the county made the right choice?
Yeah, I do have a subdivision out there, or did. I have one lot left. So now everybody else has a subdivision out there. So, I think you got to be really careful. And I don't know a lot about this one because this was all done locally. So I only had bits and pieces of it. And actually, when that was taking place, I was in Indy. So you got to do it responsibly, right? So I wouldn't want to build a subdivision, nor do I think you should build a subdivision next to a dairy farm. People want to live in the country until they don't. And when that wind changes direction and you get all that smell from that manure, probably not a good choice. So you got to have those buffers. So in this case, was that the right buffer? And I can't say yes or can't say no. But yeah, I'm pro growth. I think that a subdivision of that magnitude. So what I'm being told, and I have no proof of this, that it was a national home builder that was prepared to come in here, one of the Pulte's or Toll Brothers or something like that. It's kept pretty secret. But I think there is a need for housing, right? So, and the need for housing is going to require an annexation by the city, or it's going to be in the country, one of the two. So, what is that proper place? So, I don't know enough about it to tell you that the commissioners made the right decision or the wrong decision. But ultimately, that's what local control is all about too. Is they have to make that decision, and I think they did a good job at the Planning Commission of vetting it.
All right, we have another question on the phone line. Hey, thanks so much for calling and listening to the show. What's your question for State Representative Jim Pressel? Hello? All right. Here's a question for you. So why doesn't Indiana use its surplus to purchase native land and expand natural resources and parks?
That's a great question. I don't know. We purchase a lot of different wetlands and create wetlands in the Kankakee River Basin. So I was part of that transitioning the KRBC, the Kankakee River Basin Commission, to downsize it and take care of flooding. So part of that flooding is we actually, through that entity, do purchase ground, or we lease it for a lifetime. And we create those wetlands there. So we are actively doing that. And I believe DNR actually makes a lot of purchases for wetland restoration. So I think we're doing those things.
All right. Do you support further tax cuts and state-paid incentives to manufacturing companies while they continue to cut jobs and wages across the state?
I don't know that they're cutting jobs and cutting wages. I got to tell you, this is the strongest job growth that I've ever seen. I mean, I'm listening to ads where I could go to Bonnie Baking, and I could be wrong, but it's airing on this station. It's $28 an hour. Every other weekend off, 100% benefits. I don't know that they're cutting wages. That job was probably a $12 an hour job.
All right, let's get to another caller. Hey, thanks so much for calling and listening to the show. I appreciate you. What's your question for State Representative Jim Pressel?
Right. I was wondering what you thought about the present situation down at the Mexican border.
All right, thanks for calling. What is your thoughts on?
We got to do a better job. That's more the federal level, right? I have no impact on that, but I'll give you my honest opinion. We got to do a better job at protecting that border. What we need is responsible immigration reform, to continue just to allow people to cross that border with not being vetted, with not knowing anything about them. I think is absolutely wrong.
All right, we've got Jim Pressel on the show. Just a couple more minutes. Your company took $40,000 in COVID relief payments. How did you use that money?
We paid that all to employees, and if you'd like to come to my office and see that record, and it probably is public record also, that went all out in payroll, and it was a good thing that we had it. We used it for bonuses, we used it for incentives, we used it for overtime situations when all that was going on. We work in close quarters building a house. We absolutely do. So we staggered subcontractors along with our employees so that we would not intermix, and that cost dollars. So that's what we use the PPP for.
All right, State Representative Jim Pressel, we just have a couple more minutes. I'll give you the final word. What do you want our listeners to know?
I take this job seriously. I work very, very hard at it. I think it's a privilege and an honor to serve as your representative, and I do take your support seriously. I'd appreciate your vote on May 3rd to continue to be your representative and bring things in back from Indianapolis that we all should be getting. And then I want to wish everybody a happy Easter and enjoy some good family time.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show, and good luck to you. Coming up on shows in the future, we've got Andrew Morse, who is a Republican candidate for sheriff. He'll be on the show. Mike Rosenbaum, incumbent council member, will be on the show, and his opponent will come on as well, Ron Schaefer, and we'll talk to him as well. Lots of good shows coming up before the primary. Wherever you're at, whatever party you're at, please do vote. Get out there, learn more about your candidates. Also, I've been told this by both party chairs, Dr. Vijayakora and Dr. Alan Stevens, sorry, Alan, I just gave you your doctorate, that they need help poll workers, these kind of things. Obviously, even if they haven't enough, it's good to have some backup. If you'd like to participate in the election process, there's more than just running for office. There's all kinds of things on election day. Just call into the clerk's office or into the county election office as well, and you'll find support. Contact the party chairs, all these kind of things, and they'll get you pointed where you're going. Elections take everyone, and so if you'd like to volunteer your support or get paid for doing some of these things, you're welcome to do that. Hey, I want to thank you again for listening. We'll be back on Monday for another show. Happy Easter. May it be a reflectful Good Friday for you. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.